he made sure that he remind us what the movement is all about. He didn't only do that, but he also encouraged us and reminded us all the time that whatever it is that is happening in the movement, but in the country as well, we must lead from the front and we must never give up.
Mthethwa's remains will be kept at a mortuary in Empangeni from tonight. The ambassador will be laid to rest in a Category 2 official special funeral on Sunday in Kwambonambi, north of the province. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
The Special Investigating Unit says it's encountered several instances of interference in its investigations into the Road Accident Fund, and it's since laid a criminal complaint against an executive for being non-cooperative. SIU head Andy Mutibi has also told Parliament's Standing Committee on Public Accounts that former CEO Collins Letswalo insisted that evidence from employees be run past him before being submitted to the SIU. The SIU appeared before the committee today on the third day of its inquiry into malfeasance at the fund. Lindsay Dentlinger has those details.
The Special Investigating Unit says its point person at the Road Accident Fund, meant to help investigators with information, has obstructed investigations and ignored a subpoena to comply. SIU head Andy Mutibi says the unit has had to go as far as using its executive powers to lay a criminal complaint against the person who still works at the fund.
There was almost like an act or a push for us to withdraw the criminal case, which we resisted, and the criminal case was left standing.
Mutibi says former CEO Collins Letswalo also interfered in investigations.
The members of REF were being informed that their rights of reply have to via the CEO's office before they can be presented to the SIU.
Mutibi says the board has been informed of the obstructions. Lindsay Dentlinger, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
We move to the courts where the presiding judge that granted crime kingpin Katiso KT Molefe bail says the NPA's case presented in court against Molefe is highly speculative. The Johannesburg High Court granted Molefe 400,000 rand bail today. Molefe had escalated the matter from the Alexandra Magistrates Court, which denied him bail in August, ruling that he failed to prove exceptional circumstances for his release. The 61-year-old is accused of calling hits on popular musician DJ Sambodi and another musician, DJ Fintos, whose real names were Opa Sofoka and Hector Buthelezi, respectively. Khumuso Modise has more.
During Katiso Molefe's bail appeal in the High Court, the state revealed parts of its case against him, including the alleged calls that were made between him and the alleged hitman around the time that DJ Sambodi was killed, and his relationship with some of the accused. But Judge Brad Wanless was not convinced on the strength of the state's case.
Not only are the contents of the small a answering and small s supplementary affidavits highly speculative in nature, but there is a distinct lack of real facts contained therein.
Wanless has agreed with Molefe's lawyers that there is no evidence that he will evade trial if he is released on bail. Molefe is now granted 400,000 rand bail in addition to the 100,000 rand release that he was already on in connection with the murder of Vereniging engineer Armand Swart. Khumuso Modise, Eyewitness News at the Johannesburg High Court.
And Norway says the country is upbeat about growing its trade relations with South Africa as G20 countries meet to talk shop. Trade and investment officials from the bloc's member states are meeting for a final time today before the leaders' summit next month. Some countries have been meeting on the side for bilateral talks to strengthen ties. Norway, which already has a good trading relationship with South Africa, says it's keen to grow ties. In July this year, Pretoria exported 546 million rands and imported 122 million rand from Norway. The top exports from South Africa to Norway include manganese ore and citrus. Norwegian Trade Secretary Ragnhild Schista.
And I believe there's room for more trade. The Norwegian companies in the renewable energy sector is investing quite a lot, and we have plans to invest about 10 to 15 billion US dollars looking ahead. So I believe we have a prosperous future ahead of us.
Gold's trading at $3,996.21 an ounce. The rand's at 17.42 to the dollar, at 23.25 to the pound, at 20.24 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $63.14 a barrel.
Well, at this day, it's kickoff at the Moses Mabhida Stadium with Bafana Bafana's World Cup qualifying on the line as they face off against Zimbabwe. The Proteas are set to face off against Namibia and Pakistan this weekend. Round 3 of the URC begins with the Stormers this evening. And the latest from the Women's Cricket World Cup.
A look at your weather. A partly cloudy day in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 11 degrees and peak at highs of 28. Pretoria is at 12 and 29. Vereeniging is at 12, also reaching highs of 28 degrees. A foggy morning for the mother city. Otherwise, it's clear skies there with strong southeasterly winds at a low of 15 and a high of 24 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. The ANC is currently holding a memorial service in Empangeni in the north of KwaZulu-Natal in honor of late Ambassador to France, Natim Tetwa.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app. EWN Traffic.
Well, at this stage, if you are driving through Southgate, there's bumper-to-bumper traffic. This is on the N12 westbound through the M1 Uncle Charlie's interchange due to an earlier accident. Also in Bryanston, slow-moving traffic. This is N1 southbound between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive. While in the mother city, there's a stationary vehicle. This is on the N2 outbound approaching airport approach. This is causing some delays. Also expect delays on the elevated freeway heading into the Cape Town CBD. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
And now, The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking. ABSA is a proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa 2025. Good evening, welcome to the program. I'm Stephen Grootes, 8 minutes after 6 the time. We'll speak to Carol Payton in a moment about the Public Investment Corporation. I keep making the point about a lack of transparency there, and this is the problem. You know, in a way, I hate to be so blunt, but it kind of proves the point. If you do not tell us what's happening at something that is that important and so kind of in a way financial and political all at the same time, you must expect people to go and find out for themselves, and then you lose control of the story. Well, Carol Payton, you know the high regard in which I hold her. She'll tell you what she thinks is going on there, and we do take her very, very seriously. Process talking today about AI, how it's helping them in their business. It seems to all be about search, and you know this gets to the heart of the AI question. Supposedly, the companies that use it the best are the ones that are going to succeed. That's the whole point. And in a way, it really does get to the heart of that story. The rand dropping a little bit, and of course there have been quite dramatic developments in the last hour or so. The US President Donald Trump warning again of very stiff tariffs against China, sort of upping the ante there. Likes to kind of have it on all fronts, does Donald Trump, if you consider the Middle East, the US shutdown of their federal government, and then of course now taking this war to China as well, the trade war I mean. So that it has been weakening the rand a little bit, but has strengthened gold, which went past $4,000 again. We'll speak to Treasury One, their currency risk strategist, Andres Salier, in a few moments. A Friday file tonight, Naledi Dlamini, someone who's really sort of redefining luxury design using denim to do it. And don't forget the Friday Biz Blitz as well. A lot to talk about tonight. I think the main story probably going through the next little while is going to be what happens with Trump's new threat of tariffs against China and why he's decided to pick this moment to do it. There does seem to be some kind of timetable in the US around all of this, but certainly very interesting. And I suspect might well set the sort of scene for what's going to happen in markets next week. Good to hear from you as always on 011 883 0702 021 446 0567, and I know you'll have a view on 072 702 1702. Good evening, it's 11 minutes after 6.
The Money Show
with Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM, streaming on the Prime Media Plus app
and DSTV channel 856.
One of those short emails coming through from SARS that can mean so much. All it is, it just says press conference 12 o'clock tomorrow. The subject is Lucky Montana. We know, of course, Lucky Montana is the former CEO at PRASA. He's currently a member of parliament for Mkhonto weSizwe. And SARS issuing a statement this week saying that if he did not retract his claims what they say are lies against SARS, they will reveal what for the moment is still his confidential tax information. You may remember a conversation we had with, I think it was Charles DeVette, about that, the tax expert. It does seem now that SARS, if you consider the timing of this, a weekend press conference from a tax authority about one particular individual, I understand the amount to be in the region of 55 million rand. Well, we are in the realms of seeing things we have not seen very many times before. But it does seem to me, from what I can see at this point, that SARS is gearing up to do something they have not done many times. And I suspect we might find out a bit more about Lucky Montana and his finances than we knew before. That press conference, 12 o'clock tomorrow, timed, I say cynically, for the Sunday press, ? 12 after.
702. Stephen is on X.
At Stephen Grootes.
Well, this time the last week, the Public Investment Corporation was about to announce that it decided to suspend its Chief Investment Officer, Kabelo Rakotso. It's given very few details on why it's taken this decision. Some details now beginning to emerge. Carol Payton, the editor-at-large at Fin24, publishing an important story detailing what seems to be happening at the PIC. Carol, good evening. I do appreciate the time. The PIC is the continent's biggest investment fund. From what you know at this point, why is it decided to suspend its chief investment officer? It seems to be connected to AO Technologies.
Yes, well, good evening. It's Stephen. It is connected to IO Technologies. So two things happened at once. A whistleblower report landed on the desk of the chairperson of the PIC, that's Deputy Minister of Finance David Masondo, and a vote took place on the delisting of AO, in which the PIC was a big shareholder. And at that vote, there was a unanimous vote to accept a buyout offer, a final buyout offer, with the delisting of AO. And it was 52 cents a share or something, but think about 99% less than they listed for. And these two, and the whistleblower report also contained details about this AO transaction and the delisting. So this was kind of alarming. The new board had only been sort of in office for a week. And they sat immediately and decided to suspend Rakotso, which was surprising because, if anything, it was a governance breach, it seems, that he didn't tell them that this final settlement buyout offer was going ahead and that the PIC was going to accept it. I don't know what choice there would have been. Actually, from what I can see, there wouldn't have been another choice other than to accept. It would have, the next best option was really a bad one. So that's what happened. And I think for me, the bigger picture is just that, the PIC is such a politicized environment, and it's very difficult to operate in there without either getting caught in the politics or getting caught in the crossfire.
Is there any indication that Kabelo Rakotso was trying to do something that would benefit himself or any other political actor or anyone who's politically connected? As you say, it was really the best offer. I mean, I think they listed at 43 Rand. This was 52 cents a share. So it's a massive loss, but there's no better option.
No, there isn't a better option because to stay in meant that you could stay in and hope that, AO delists and then it becomes a private company and suddenly its fortunes really improve and you make much more money. But given the fact that AO itself seemed to be based on such a over exaggeration of the value initially, that seems a bit unlikely. So it's not clear whether Rakotso was going to benefit at all from this. I don't know. The whistleblower report might claim that. I haven't seen the whistleblower report. It might claim that. I don't really see. For me, that's not the big issue. For me, the bigger issue is that they had tried to suspend Rakotso before. There had been issues before over governance breaches where they said he didn't tell them various things that he had been doing. And his argument in response was that, it's within my delegated authority to do those things. So there was a difference of opinion over, what governance should have been followed. So for me, the big issues were, they were looking for a way of perhaps, disciplining him, and this was the opportunity.
I mean, it gets to, as you say, the nature of the PIC, and they've been quite careful. They haven't told us very much about what's happening here at all. And when that happens, people like you go and do the work that you do, but people also think the worst. I mean, it is such a big fund. I would think, and this might just be me, they have a duty to tell us a lot more than they have.
Well, they do, especially since it is, it's mostly the government employees pension fund money, which is a defined benefit fund. Which, if that fund falls short, then the taxpayer has to chip in. So yes, we are entitled to more of an explanation. That's for sure. We hope that we'll get a proper one once they do their investigation. But the finance minister announced an investigation into the unlisted investments of the PIC. When was it? I think it was several months ago. And then I asked them, could we at least see the terms of reference of this investigation? And the answer came back from Treasury: no, you can't. And we haven't heard a thing. Has anyone been appointed to do this? Has anything, what are they looking for? We do know that the head of the unlisted investments, or he was the acting head or the head, I'm not sure, has been suspended. So there are things going on there that clearly are not on the level.
Carol Payton, thank you so much. Editor-at-large at Fin24. Very important story, 18 after 6.
702. Stephen is on The Money Show.
6 to 8 p.m.
Well, of course, that if you take out your phone and start to do some online shopping or start to look for anything, there's search engines that will direct you to what you want or what you thought you wanted. Now, Prosus says the use of AI and the launch of what they call large commerce models will improve this process. Euro Bainat is the global head of artificial intelligence at Prosus. Euro, good evening. I really do appreciate the time. Thank you. We know how current search systems work. What's different about this new system? If I wanted a hamburger and I searched for that, how would it sort of change that experience?
And good evening, and thanks for having me. Well, it changes in many ways. So if we look at e-commerce, in fact, the platforms that we use now, they have been around and more or less designed and invented in the last 10, 15 years. And we already use a lot of machine learning to recommend products, to make sure that the experience is, let's say, seamless and so on. But we've already been limited to what we can do with technology. So what happened in the last few years, in particular last 2-3 years, large language models have become useful. We use them in ChatGPT. And what we are doing, we are training large language models to understand not only language or, everything on the internet, but to understand commerce. And we've been working on this for a year and a half, and we have, let's say, tried rolling out. And these systems are designed to understand the users much better, to understand the intent, and therefore they lead to some suggestions, recommendations are far more personal, much more relevant. They improve in general the e-commerce experience.
So is it just a sort of better search hit, or does it actually do a lot of other things in the back end that makes me more likely to buy your product?
Well, it obviously it improves search, that's clear, but it improves also customer support in the sense that already knowing all the reasons why you have done what you have done and the reasons why you're displeased or unhappy about the purchase, let's say that the experience of a customer support can be better. There's an entire way of looking at, let's say, having a model that looks at the past transactions, understands everything that the user does on the platforms, reasons about that, and creates some sort of reasons why that happened and the outcome. So the models understand this relationship between what you do and the outcome you want. And because of that, first of all, what you see on the platform is different, is much more personal. It changes during the day because during the day you might need different things. It changes depending who you are. It might help you understand exactly what the needs you have. You might want a pair of shoes because you want to go running or because you just had an incident and you need to change them. It's different. So it really takes your experience to what the reason why you go there on the websites in the first place. And yes, of course, that has also a better outcome in terms of businesses.
We know AI is becoming more and more important. Your competitors are using it as well. How important is it to process to use AI as effectively as possible to get ahead of your competitors? What I'm really asking, I suppose, is how important a competitive advantage is AI for you at this moment?
We think we already have a competitive advantage. We started investing significantly in artificial intelligence back in 2018, more or less when I joined the group. And we invest already something like 100 million per year across the group in artificial intelligence. And we're really good at that. We have, I don't know, something like 800, 900 AI models that work in all the companies across the group. So we're really good at this. I think the next phase of this, it is making it a lot better. We are convinced, well, we already know that this is a competitive differentiation. We see in the numbers, we see in the places where we compete. Now we think that these large commerce models will give us an extra edge. And in fact, they are going to take us to the next generation of e-commerce, which is going to be based on models that reason and agents that do things for you. So you not only go to a website and find what you want, there are going to be agents that you control, and they scan for you all the time for the best deals. So things like that, which are impossible now, will become the regular experience not too far from now.
So, in other words, fairly soon on a Friday night, I could get home after listening to the Money Show and say aloud, I want a hamburger. And the hamburger that I'm actually thinking about, which will have cheese, bacon, and mushroom, will suddenly arrive because the machine knows what I wanted, even though I didn't say cheese, bacon, and mushroom.
That's possible. Whether this is going to be something you really, let's say, want, is the experience that you like, to be seen. But yes, we will know much more about, let's say, the reason why you want it. Is it because of an event? Is it because, let's say, it has been a long day or things like this? And therefore, we'll be able to suggest to you the things that, are probably better for your experience at that moment. It can also be automated. It can also be, let's say, for instance, in grocery, we know more or less the buying pattern, so we can suggest on Friday, this is probably your shopping list. Do you want me to take care of that and deliver it at some point? So you can think of these agents taking care of a lot of the chores and making all your experience a lot easier and even more pleasant, of course.
Euro Baynard, thanks very much indeed. Global Head of AI at Process, 24 after 6.
The Money Show Explainer.
Well, you may remember at the start of the year, the rand was well over the 18 rand mark to the dollar. In fact, seemed to be heading towards 19 rand now. Earlier today and earlier this week, it was around 17.15, 17.10 at one point. In the last hour and a half since the US President Donald Trump announced he wants stiffer tariffs against China, the rand has fallen back a bit, but still much stronger in the last few months. Andre Cilliers is Director and Currency Risk Strategist at Treasury One. Andre, good evening. 9 months is a long time on international markets. What have been the main drivers of the sort of rand strength we've seen?
Main drivers of this rand, and I've just done a presentation for people today, is when you put up a slide on a presentation, you immediately put up Mr. Trump's face. Because he's one of the key drivers. And everything that he does revolves around increasing income for the United States of America, but that sometimes starts trade wars, and that's on his tariff side. Furthermore, that impacts on interest rates and monetary policy by the Federal Reserve. And that's got to do with interest rates either going up or going down because of inflation and because of unemployment figures in the US. So very much those two drivers out of the US, but the impact of that impacting throughout the old economy and have an impact on world economies. Then comes geopolitical situations. And then one refers to wars, Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, Russia, and so forth. And the tensions globally is just on the increase. They're speaking of, ceasefires and so forth, but it doesn't come to conclusion. And one of the biggest problems is that all these tariffs and everything that is being announced by Mr. Trump continuously and threatened by him creates great uncertainty. And the uncertainty leads to an increase in gold, for instance, and we've seen tremendous increases in gold, but we've also seen increases in other commodities. So that becomes an uncertain thing, but at least the rand benefited from that. But we can see right this afternoon how sensitive the rand is to its changes that quickly gets announced. Like this morning, we were well below the 1720s, and this week we had gone as low as 1706, but we're back up at the 1743 levels, and depending on how this new suspected trade war between America and China turns out, we could go a little bit higher, or we could be back around the 1720 very soon.
How important, is the gold price a big factor at all? If it slips, does it have an impact on the rand? Obviously, as you say, the Trump administration is the main driver of all of this. But whatever the Trump administration seems to do, it pushes up gold, and it seems to lead to a weaker dollar.
It leads to a weaker dollar, but the uncertainty in terms of geopolitical situations once again underscores the strength of the dollar. So that becomes a bit of a seesaw. It's almost as if the euro and the pound and so forth become more volatile than other currencies in the world because of this. But the gold, if you look at gold and you look at the big buyers of gold, then you look at central banks. If you then go there and try and uncipher this, why is the central banks buying all this gold, then I always want to say it's a step away from just buying U.S. treasuries, diversifying their holdings of their reserves into other instruments as well. And that tells me a little bit that there's a bit of a mistrust in what comes out of America and what comes out of the erratic decisions from Mr. Trump. So it's a bit of a mistrust, and that is what's driving a gold price to higher levels.
Andres Celers, thanks very much indeed. Director, Currency Risk Strategist at Treasury One.
The Money Show.
The markets.
Grant Nader is Portfolio Manager, Benguela Global Fund Managers. Grant, good evening. Gold slipping below $4,000 an ounce. Trump opens his social media network, and suddenly it's back across 4,000 again.
Yeah, indeed. Look, gold has been on an incredible run, but it looked like it was about to take a much needed breather and have a decent pullback, which is part of the journey in climbing higher. But yeah, Trump opens and announced the potential for massive tariffs against China in retaliation around those key metals, precious metals, rare earths. Apologies. And so yes, it's one. The key driver for gold is the geopolitical risk, the global uncertainty, the diversification, the global central bank buying. Those are all still in play. It's really about at what price do you buy gold. So I think gold's pullback is limited by these factors that are very much still on the table. PGMs, which are also suffering a bit of a pullback, I think are less geopolitically sensitive, less hedges than gold is. And so those, I think, are operating in a different dynamic.
Pick and Pay up nearly 9% at the close today. A very strong update from them.
And a really good update, a surprisingly good update. I was quite pleased to see that. So turnover up, 4.9%. But what stood out for me was their corporate stores. So the stores they own saw like-for-like sales growth of 4.8%. And the inflation's very low. So within that, they're actually getting volume growth. So that's really a good testament. They're doing something right, and that's a step in the right direction. Yes, it's still loss-making, but there's a massive reduction in those losses. We haven't got insight into the cash flow yet, so that's still coming. But they're doing a job of they're cutting the worst-performing stores. They're refocusing the business. They're sort of stabilizing the balance sheet. They're doing all the right things. And then you add to it the clothing business, which has really been it's been a fantastic business, and it remains so. Growing 12%, like-for-like sales 7.5%. And then, of course, they still own the majority of Boxer. So it's an improving story. There's no question about it. And most of the money is made by those who take a chance at this stage of the game where you see this kind of potential for a turnaround. I think there's still a bit of story to be told here. I don't think it's a done deal that they turn the business around, but this is a good step in the right direction.
Grant Nader, thanks very much indeed. Really appreciate it. Portfolio Manager at Benguela Global Fund Managers. Just after 6:30, Maki Malapo, good evening. The latest on this protest outside a Denel munition factory.
That's right, Stephen. Dozens of pro-Palestine supporters gathered outside Rheinmetall Denel munition factory today to support the Makassar Activist Forum in a protest. The MAF organized the picket in solidarity with global calls to end the supply of weapons and ammunition to Israel amidst the war in Gaza. The activists called on Rheinmetall Denel Munition, a subsidiary of the German arms manufacturer Rheinmetall AG, to cease complicity in war crimes and to align its operations with South Africa's international human rights obligations. Carlo Peterson has more.
Makassar Activist Forum spokesperson Desmond Stevens says a memorandum of demands was handed over to the management of Rheinmetall Denel Munition today.
We cannot remain silent while weapons made in our backyard contribute to the destruction of innocent lives in Gaza.
Stevens says the MAF has also called on government to suspend export permits for weapons being exported to Israel.
If our demands are not met in 7 days, further escalation of protests here will continue unabated and indefinitely until our demands are met.
Rheinmetall Denel Munition has indicated it will respond later today. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola says he does not think KwaZulu-Natal top cop Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi overreached when he held his explosive media briefing in July. Masemola says he does not see anything wrong with what Mkhwanazi did. He's answering questions from MPs at Parliament's ad hoc committee inquiry probing allegations of police corruption. The committee was established to look into allegations of infiltration in the criminal justice system. In the allegations, he implicated several high-ranking officials and alleged underworld figures. Masemola says he was informed that the briefing would happen.
I think, he did what he did, so I don't see anything wrong with it. Because the provincial commissioner can do press briefing in his province, and he can. And he did tell me that he's going to talk about the political Killing Stars team, give their successes. And when he went beyond that, so I don't have a problem with that.
The IFP has commended the work of law enforcement who caught the third suspect in the murder case of party Deputy Chief Whip Ketamabala Sithole. Yesterday, suspect Zimani Klimba was shot and killed after police found him at his hiding place in Duduza in Ekurhuleni. In May this year, it's alleged Klimba and two others shot at Sithole and two other people at a hostel in Katlehong. Jabuli Lembata reports.
Police say when they attempted to arrest Zamani Klimba yesterday, he pointed a firearm at them and they opened fire. At the time of the shooting, two other suspects who were allegedly working with Klimba had been arrested a few days earlier and charged with murder and attempted murder. While the IFP welcomes the developments of the murder investigation, the party says it still needs clarity on the motive. The two remaining suspects are set to return to the Palm Ridge Magistrates Court on November 20th. Jabuli Lembata, Eyewitness News.
And US senators began a long weekend today that guarantees the government shutdown lasting at least 14 days. Republicans and Democrats have been getting into angry confrontations in the corridors of Congress, with frustration mounting as the crisis over funding the government hits public services. Pressure is mounting on Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson to bring the lower chamber of Congress back in session to hold an emergency vote on at least providing military pay. But the Republican leader is sticking to his guns, telling reporters yesterday that he was committed to keeping the House out of session as long as it takes. A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Saturday in store for Gauteng. Tomorrow, temperatures will drop to overnight lows of 11 and 12 degrees and peak at highs of 28 and 29 degrees. A foggy morning for Cape Town. Otherwise, it's clear skies in the mother city tomorrow with strong southeasterly winds at a low of 15 and a high of 24 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News. Dozens of pro-Palestine supporters gathered outside Rheinmetall Denel Munition Factory today to support the Makassar Activist Forum in a protest.
EWN Traffic.
In Pretoria, Pavian Sport, there's about a 30-minute delay. This is on Sifako Makhato Drive between Camille Fontaine Road and Moloto Road. There's also bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's if you're traveling into Soweto on Chris Hani Road. That's in Pimville. Chris Hani Road, this is between UJ Campus and Klipspruit Valley. There's also slow-moving traffic in the Protea Glen area. That's N12 westbound between the R558 Abu Bakr Drive and the R559. There's slow-moving traffic in the Mother City. This is on the elevated freeway heading into the Cape Town CBD. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic into outbound. This is heading towards Airport Approach Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Beyond every boardroom is a story waiting to be written. A story of a business and its potential, of a community that thrives, a hospital that serves, and energy that powers millions of dreams. It's a story that only gets better with a partner that has the expertise and solutions to make it a reality. At ABSA CIB, we are invested in your story, and we invite you to write it with us, because your story matters. ABSA, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Calling all golf pros. Hollywood Bets invites you to step onto the green. Tee up, take a swing, and enjoy glorious golf action from electrifying competitions and thrilling live tournaments. Get ready to conquer the fairway and chase epic fortunes. Ready to master the odds and experience your crowning moment? Bet now on all the excitement and prepare to make your hole-in-one shot to sensational success. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
Last orders coming through during your drive home or at midnight. Your customers check out whenever, wherever. With seamless payment integration and over 18 ways to get paid, PayFast by Network is built to keep up. And when it's time to grow, funding with Easy Advance helps you take the next step. Always open for late nights, for early starts, for you. Sign up today at payfast.io. PayFast has partnered with TimeBank to offer funding to your business.
EWN Sport.
First question on the Friday Biz Blitz. How's Bafana doing, Anthony Teixeira?
Good evening, Stephen. Well, it remains goalless at the Moses Mabhida Stadium with 35 minutes played. It was a nervy start for the South Africans, to be honest with you. But over the last 10 minutes or so, we've seen them get a bit of a foothold in this game and sort of grow in their attacking intent. The great news is that the other Group C qualifiers are also goalless. That's between Rwanda and Benin, as well as Nigeria and Lesotho, with them all still in the first half with about 5 minutes left to go. Of course, South Africa are looking for all 3 points if they are to make it to a World Cup finals for the first time since hosting it back in 2010. Meanwhile, there's round 3 of the United Rugby Championship this evening. The Stormers in Wales against the Scarlets. Busy day tomorrow with the Lions at Benetton. The Joburgers have been bolstered by the return of Springboks grammar half Morne van den Berg for the clash in Italy. Well, the Sharks will end their European tour with the clash against holders Leinster, and the Bulls meet Ulster. What we've seen there is Coach Johan Ackermann has drafted in 8 of the Springboks into his squad to play that game. Most exciting name is the double World Cup winning fly half Handré Pollard, who after 6 years in Europe is back in blue. In cricket, double duty for the Proteas. Saturday, they set to face off against Namibia in a one-off T20 to mark the opening of the Namibia Cricket Ground. Then Sunday, they start the first test against Pakistan. That match will form part of the new World Test Championship cycle, culminating in the 2027 final. And the Proteas head into that tournament as the defending champions. Here's Carl Verreynne.
Obviously, we're champions now, so there's a new sort of pressure. But I think we, as a group, played the last cycle, still feeling a lot of pressure. We felt like our fixtures and everything gave us a good chance to get to the final and win it. So I think every team that we play is going to want to beat us that much more. The most important thing for us is to try and not change too much. Don't really want to fix something that isn't broken enough.
At the Women's Cricket World Cup, we saw New Zealand get underway and finally pick up a win. They managed to beat Bangladesh by 100 runs. And a final look at that score, it remains goalless between Bafana and Zimbabwe in Durban. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
Breathe in, insurance. Breathe out, pineapple. In, insurance. Breathe out, pineapple. Again, in, insurance. Out, pineapple. Again and again.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Looking for a smarter way to move money internationally? Discover Future Forex, your multi-award-winning one-stop shop for international transfers. Enjoy white glove service, expert compliance support, and savings of up to 50% compared to banks. With industry-leading rates and seamless transfers, Future Forex is one of South Africa's highest-rated foreign exchange providers. Visit futureforex.co.za. Future Forex, your all-in-one partner for sending money to and from South Africa. Future Forex is an authorized financial services provider. T's and C's apply.
He's the boss, the legend, the man whose music defined generations. Now his story hits cinemas in Springsteen, Deliver Me From Nowhere, from 24 October. And 702 is giving you the chance to win big next week. We're celebrating the icon with 2 truths and a lie. 3 facts about Bruce. One's not quite true. WhatsApp the keyword Springsteen ZA to 0702 702 1702. And we could call you to play every day next week. Spot the line and win 2,000 Rand cash, exclusive pre-screening tickets, and a shot at a collector's vinyl package every fan will envy. Tease season more on primemediaplus.com. Only on 702.
702 with Stephen Grootes.
Email him on stephen@702.co.za.
Don't forget, of course, the Friday Biz Blitz coming your way in just a few moments. You might want to sort of get ahead of the queue. 011 883 0702 021 446 0567. Questions coming about some of the corporate news that we've seen today. Metal, which has hit very high prices. Things like largest asset manager in Africa, pharmaceutical firm. Questions like that are what you can look forward to on the Friday Biz Blitz in just a couple of minutes.
The Money Show.
The Friday File.
The Friday File.
Well, I don't know if you've ever sat down and looked at how much and the influence that fashion and design actually has on your life. It's not something I spend nearly enough time thinking about, but the fashion industry is a very, very interesting one, sometimes quite a difficult one to make your mark. And in someone who started to make a mark at quite a young age is Naledi Dlamini, a fashion designer from Tsepo Jeans, and been working on a big project at the luxurious Marble Circus. Naledi, good evening, and thanks for agreeing to speak to us on The Money Show tonight.
Hi, Stephen. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. Thanks so much for talking to us. What is it about fashion that drew you to it? I mean, are you one of those people who kind of knew at 4 years old that's what you wanted to do? So many people in the fashion industry kind of are those people.
Yes. First of all, thank you for having me. I was always that little girl that sort of just loved fashion, and my mother was one of my big inspirations. But I just remember the comical aspect of it is I used to come back and in my holidays I'd cut up my school socks for my Barbies. So I kind of, always knew at a young age.
Do you know what it is about it? I mean, we don't always know why we like something, we just like it. But is there something in particular you think that's drawn you to it? I mean, it is a way of expressing yourself, which makes it very powerful.
I think for me, the most exciting thing is sort of like how fashion communicates in its own ways. You can play with structure and silhouette with the types of fabrics you use. Kind of just the way it speaks to someone and the way it makes someone feel, how the garment feels on them and the emotion that it evokes in that person.
Mm. You've been working, as I understand it, primarily in denim. Why denim? I mean, is there something that's drawn you to it? Is it just happenstance where you ended up?
Denim, I've always thought denim was kind of cool. A bit anxious to sort of tackle it because people always think with denim it's just sort of jeans, you know. But coming into Tsepo jeans, it's kind of exciting to find ways to play with denim that are unconventional. How can you make denim look different, feel different, and just be something you never thought denim could be?
Is there, when I think of denim, I tend to primarily, Naledi, and this may be sort of what you're suggesting, think of kind of clothes for younger people. I'm no longer a younger person, and yet I've got denim on me right now, but they are jeans. But I mean, do you think that denim is kind of ageless, or is it primarily a kind of younger person's fabric?
100% ageless. I think denim it's for everyone. I just think that it's in its prime at the moment, if that's the right word to use. It's sort of picking up because I think a lot of the times the youth are playing with, thrift denim that they find and figuring out how can I remake what I just have in my hands into something completely different. Whereas I think back in the day, you sort of just thought, oh, I need a pair of jeans. That's what I'm going to buy. So I do think denim is ageless. I just think that the younger generation has found a way to play with it that makes it more exciting.
You've been working and sort of interning with Tsepo Mohlala, and he's one of the biggest names in our fashion scene, and of course he's in charge of Tsepo Jeans. I imagine a big step. I mean, I've met him, we've spoken to him on the Money Show, but I imagine a big step to work with someone like that, really important in our industry.
100%. It's been, I was nervous on my first day, but it's been really exciting to sort of just see how his mind works, see where his vision is going and what he wants to see for Tsepo Jeans, in the future, near future and further, like another 10 years. And it's just been amazing to sort of learn how he structured his brand and how he wants to represent Tsepo Jeans, not only in the country and the continent, but in the world. So it's been really an exciting experience, sort of just like digging into his mind and just sort of seeing how he perceives things.
I just have the sense in my head of many people wanting to start a career in fashion who would give their eye teeth, maybe not their denims, but their eye teeth for the position that you've had. How hard is it to get on the radar of someone like Tsepo Mohlala? I mean, it can't be easy.
Oh, it isn't easy, and in the fashion industry in general, there's so many creators out there, and you just have to have that thing that someone is specifically looking for that sparks their excitement. I did send my portfolio in last year in hopes that, whatever comes through, comes through. So to receive the call was, I think I say this every time, I did not anticipate it, and it was just so exciting to hear him say, would you like to come and work on LMC with us?
Did he call you himself?
Yes.
Wow. Okay, I can imagine. that was quite a conversation.
Yes.
The world of fashion, Naledi, I mean, there's stereotypes about the experience of being an intern in the fashion industry. A lot of them come from one movie. I'm sure you know the movie I'm thinking about.
Yes.
Is it like that? I mean, are you on first name terms with every barista from, Rosebank to Tshwane? I don't get the sense that it's like that. I get the sense for you it's been a very difficult experience, but that's the kind of stereotype I have in my head.
Yes. You know what? Stereotypes are all built off of something that has happened. But my experience, I just feel like I kind of just got put into this family. As an intern, I'm sort of like figuring the things out, learning from them. If there's things we need to do, we do them. But I think the stereotype is slightly dramatic, But my experience overall has been absolutely pleasant.
Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about your designing style. And I realize, designing style will change over time. There'll be phases, or maybe seasons, a better word, of everyone's kind of style. For the moment, when you sit down and you're creating a piece of clothing, so you've got, I presume, some pieces of denim fabric, different types of denim in front of you. How do you start? Do you start by kind of your mood? Do you start by thinking of maybe a message that you want to send? I'm very interested in that creative process.
Usually I sort of try to get inspired by silhouettes first. Sort of, I love getting a brief on this is what we're looking for, And then I sort of delve into the inspiration behind whatever the story may be. And the story for this specific collection was fusing Tipple and LMC and creating something that became its own, personified version of these two incredible brands. And I kind of just started researching, okay, cool, what's out there? What is circus? And what is the style that we're looking for? And then I sort of delve into silhouettes and figure out, okay, what silhouettes am I interested in? Then I find out, what silhouettes is Seppo interested in? And we sort of just play with that, and I love just doing the research aspect and figuring out what feels right for this collection.
Is there an attitude with denim that other fabrics don't have that you kind of need to include in the work that you're sending? I hope I'm sort of making sense, because my fashion vocabulary is not as big as it should be. But is there a sort of, is attitude the right word?
I think, attitude, you could use the word attitude. I think with denim, working with denim, I don't want to say it's easy, but the attitude towards it is, it's a lot simpler than working with something like a chiffon or a satin, more delicate fabrics, whereas denim has a bit of that grit, you can stitch through it and not necessarily have something snag. So it is a bit more exciting to work with it because it has a structured shape, it doesn't just flow unless you try to, lightweight denim. But denim is quite. I like working with denim. I feel like it just gives you a silhouette that makes sense in the end.
You're starting what I'm sure is going to be a long career, Naledi. Do you have any idea of where you'd like to end up? Maybe head towards what the English call high sewing, but what the French call and what we know it as haute couture. Is that something you'd like to look at?
I've always been interested in haute couture. But I think my goal, or let me say, at the age that I'm at now, my mindset is sort of like, where do I see myself as a designer and the impact that I'd love to have? And I really want to grow in not only South Africa, but in Africa. I feel like we're really in a good time for African designers, and it's sort of like just trying to get into that space and sort of see where it goes from there, and keep working towards uplifting not only myself, but other designers around me.
Do you think there's something about South Africa, the diversity we have, the sort of fusion of cultures? Does that make our fashion different?
100%. South Africa is rooted in so much history and so many beautiful cultures that just a minute aspect of that culture or of the history we have can create a collection, can create a look that expresses exactly what the designer is trying to express, a different perspective of that. I think it's exciting designing in this country because there's so many different types of characters who grew up from multiple cultures or multiple different backgrounds, or even just a solid background. It's a really exciting playground to be in.
Naledi, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Really do appreciate it. A fashion designer from Tshepo Jeans, and just looking at some of the issues that she's been looking at. Their big production at the moment is that luxurious marble circus. Naledi Dlamini, remember the name. 6 minutes now to 7.
Stephen Grootes.
Taking your calls
on 011-883-0702.
Time for the Friday Biz Blitz on The Money Show. You know the number to dial. You know how it works. We ask you a question. If you get it right, we move on to the next question. If you get it wrong, we move on to the next caller. First question on the Friday Biz Blitz this Friday night. Which French term meaning high sewing refers to custom-made luxury fashion garments created with exceptional craftsmanship and exclusive fabrics? Which French term meaning high sewing refers to particularly luxury fashion garments? 011-883-0702, 021-446-0567.
I think the family needs a break. We've always wanted a holiday home. Maybe we should see what's out there. Imagine waking up to an ocean view in a beautiful villa.
With a big braai area and a spare room for when family visits. If it's on your mind, it's on ours. Partner with a wealth banker who will connect you to a home loan with up to prime minus 1.5%. See money differently. Nedbank Private Wealth. We're licensed FSP and registered credit provider. T's and C's apply.
Your coffee cup doesn't just disappear when you chuck it. Since most cups are lined with plastic, they stick around for centuries. Biopack makes South Africa's first locally manufactured home compostable cups and food cartons that break down naturally in just weeks. No plastic, no guilt, no microplastics. Just smart packaging that serves you and the planet. Biopack, designed to disappear. Visit bio-pack.co.za. That's bio-pack.co.za to find out more.
Get ready, Mzansi! Powerball has rolled over to a jaw-dropping 130 million rand guaranteed jackpot this Friday. Wanala Wasana. Play Powerball for the guaranteed 130 million rand jackpot today. And you could hit it lucky with the big millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120*7529# with USSD. Hard, Pusha, play. Players must be 18 years old or play responsibly. E2 is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA Corporate and Investment Banking. ABSA is a proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa 2025.
The Money Show, Friday Biz Blitz.
First question on the Friday Biz Blitz this evening. What French term meaning high sewing refers to custom-made luxury fashion garments created with exceptional craftsmanship and exclusive fabrics? Let's go to Parcha on the line from Tshwane. Parcha, hi.
Good evening, Stephen.
Evening. Do you know the answer?
I hope I don't butcher it. Is it hot cotton?
It is. You said it better than I did, Parcha. I hope I'm getting your name correct.
No, that's
Okay, cool. Here we go. Second question. Name the maker of BioPlus, Comparel, and Panado that is about to exit the JSE.
Procter & Gamble?
Oh, Parcha, no. Mandla in Rosebank. Do you know the answer?
Hi, good afternoon. Adcock Ingram.
It is Adcock Ingram, yes, Mandla. Okay, next question on the Friday Blitz. XAU is the universal trading code in financial markets for which precious metal?
Gold.
It is gold, Mandla, yes. Can you name, fourth question on the Friday Biz Blitz, name the largest asset manager in Africa? What is the name of the largest asset manager on our continent?
Alan Gray.
Oh, Mandla, I'll give you one more guess, but you're going to kick yourself. Sorry, Mandla. Name the largest asset manager in Africa. 011 883 0702 021 446 0567. That is the question. And this question on the Friday Biz Blitz. Questions too around a pharmaceutical company and around something happening at the JSE this week. But first, we have to get through this question. The largest asset manager in Africa. Who is it? What is the name of the largest asset manager in Africa? There was a conversation about it on the Money Show a little while ago, not too long ago, by which I mean tonight. So the name of the largest asset manager in Africa. 011 883 0702 and 021 446 0567. Faisal in Houghton. Faisal, do you know the answer?
It has to be the PIC, I presume.
It is Faisal, the PIC, yes. Okay. Eisen and Lynette Saltzman founded which pharmaceutical retailer? Which pharmacy did Ivan and Lynette Saltzman found?
How can I forget? It's Discam.
Of course it's Discam, Faisal. Okay, last question on the Friday Biz Blitz. Veldine Reddy is set to replace Leila Fourie as the CEO of which company?
That's a JSE.
Faisal! Faisal in Houghton, congratulations. You've won the Friday Biz Blitz at 7 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good evening, I'm Maki Malapo. We begin in the Eastern Cape, where Trade and Industry Deputy Minister Zuko Godlimbi says negotiations with the U.S. for a better trade deal are continuing more than a month after Washington imposed a 30% duty on exports from South Africa. Trade officials from both countries recently met again to carve a revised deal to potentially lower the punitive levy. South Africa first tabled an offer in May, followed by the first revision in August ahead of the implementation of higher tariffs by the U.S. Only parts of the deal being negotiated have been made public, with a $3.3 billion investment tag into U.S. industries such as mining and metals recycling, as well as reviewing regulation on poultry, pork and blueberry imports from the U.S. Speaking on the sidelines of a G20 trade and investment ministerial meeting in Gqeberha today, Godlimbi told media talks are ongoing.
It wouldn't be a negotiation if there was a date of agreement. It's the art of negotiating a deal to never quite know when is the agreement going to come. But the important part is that the exchange is regular, the exchange is happening. So when someone says the US has submitted an offer, South Africa has submitted an offer, it doesn't mean if it comes in today you will have a response by tomorrow. As I'm saying, you need to be very, very sure that the text is agreed to by everyone and it reflects both negotiating parties' shared interests.
We move to the north of KwaZulu-Natal, where the ANC is currently holding a memorial service in Empangeni in honor of late ambassador to France, Nathi Mthethwa. The 58-year-old's remains officially touched down on home soil today and were received at the King Shaka International Airport this afternoon by his family, friends and colleagues. Mthethwa died in Paris last week and the cause of his passing is still under investigation. This evening, dozens of ANC supporters in the province are honoring his life and times ahead of his funeral on Sunday. Nhlanhla Mabaso has more.
ANC supporters and leaders have packed the Empangeni Town Hall in northern KZN to pay tribute to the life of their late leader, Nathi Mthethwa. The party says Mthethwa is being remembered for his role in the underground unit during the apartheid era, especially in KZN, something which the party has hailed him for. ANC Second Deputy Secretary General Marupini Ramokgopa.
He made sure that he reminded us what the movement is all about. He didn't only do that, but he also encouraged us and reminded us all the time that whatever it is that is happening in the movement, but in the country as well, we must lead from the front and we must never give up.
Mthethwa's remains will be kept at a mortuary in Empangeni from tonight. The ambassador will be laid to rest in a Category 2 official special funeral on Sunday in Kwambonambi, north of the province. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Durban.
National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola has agreed with some of the allegations made by KwaZulu-Natal top cop Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Mkhwanazi has made several claims of credible links between an alleged crime syndicate member and Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. Masemola also agrees with submissions that the head of crime intelligence, Dumsani Khumalo, was targeted as part of a scheme to thwart investigations. He has been answering questions from MPs at Parliament's ad hoc committee probing allegations of police corruption. Babalo Ndenza has more.
Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi told the ad hoc committee this week that Dumsani Khumalo's arrest was part of what he called a project, which included the disbanding of the political killings task team. He said his arrest was also aimed at stopping criminal investigations in Gauteng. Committee member Sibonelo Nomvalo asked Masemola whether he believed Mkhwanazi's claims that there were links with murder accused Vusimuzi Ket Matlala and businessman Brown Mogotsi.
I believe General Mkhwanazi might have showed you some WhatsApp messages, and General Khumalo will still show you other messages which they can give evidence to that effect in terms of communication that talks to between Mr. Mogotsi, between Ted Matlala, and between the minister. They will be able to show you that.
Masemola told the committee that he tried his best to get an explanation from Mchunu on his decision to disband the task team, but to no avail. Babalo Ndenza, Eyewitness News, Parliament.
And in the US, President Donald Trump has threatened to pull out of an expected meeting with President Xi Jinping of China after Beijing tightened its rules for exports of rare earths. In a post on social media, Trump said he now saw no reason to meet with President Xi later this month, accusing China of becoming very hostile and trying to hold the world captive. He also threatened a massive increase in tariffs on Chinese goods, indicating a return of renewed trade tensions between the two economic giants. Financial markets dropped in the wake of the remarks, with the S&P 500 down roughly 1.4% in the late morning trade in New York. As well as tightening rules for exports of rare earths, China has opened a monopoly investigation into the US tech firm Qualcomm that could stall its acquisition of another chip maker. It has also said it will charge new port fees to ships with ties to the US, including those owned or operated by US firms. Gold's trading at $3,980.28 an ounce. The rand's at 17.47 to the dollar, at 23.32 to the pound, at 20.28 to the euro. Brent crude oil's at $62.79 a barrel.
Well, at this stage, if you are driving through Protea Glen, we still have about a 20-minute delay. This is on the N12 westbound between the R554 Abu Bakr Drive and the R558. Also in the Leratong area, there's slow-moving traffic. That's leaving Roodepoort, heading into Kagiso. That's the Randfontein Road between Adcock and Kohler Drive. And in the mother city, we still have slow-moving traffic heading into the Cape Town CBD on the elevated freeway.
A look at your weather. A partly cloudy Saturday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Joburg will drop to overnight lows of 11 degrees and peak at highs of 28. Pretoria is at 12 and 29. Vereeniging's at 12, reaching highs of 28 degrees. A foggy morning for Cape Town. Otherwise, it's clear skies there with strong southeasterly winds at a low of 15 and a high of 24 degrees. The top story in Eyewitness News this hour. Trade and Industry Deputy Minister Zuko Godlimbi says negotiations with the US for a better trade deal are continuing, more than a month after Washington imposed a 30% duty on exports from South Africa.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by Absa Corporate and Investment Banking. Absa is a proud lead sponsor of B20 South Africa 2025.
7:02.
You're listening to the best of The Money Show.
The Money Show.
Welcome to the best bits of The Money Show, a digest of some of the most important insights, thoughts, comments, interviews, and maybe just the best jokes of The Money Show over the last week. If you'd like to hear more, please go to our website or go to any podcast app and search for The Money Show. So often there'll be someone in your life who maybe could benefit with hearing it, so maybe do just share it with them, send it along on WhatsApp or whatever. To start, some of the news stories that we thought were very important this week. In addressing Parliament during a presentation on the annual report of the Reserve Bank, the Governor, Lesetso Kganyago, for the first time just sort of acknowledging that there was a little bit of tension between him and the Finance Ministry, or between the bank and the Finance Ministry, rather, over the decision by the Monetary Policy Committee to target the lower end of the inflation target. So, interesting comments from him. The JSE confirming on Thursday that the Group CEO, Leila Fourie, is retiring at the end of March. Veldine Reddy will be taking over from the 1st of April next year, and the US government shut down in its second week. Now, no signs of a deal at all between the President, Donald Trump, and the Democrats to end the crisis. Tonight, we bring you a mixture of stories from the world of money from the week that has been. This week's book review, Dr. Ongamaram Timka, the acting director of the Raymond Mhlaba Center for Governance and Leadership, he discussed a classical work. It's called The Power Elite. It's by C. Wright Mills. It looks at how political, economic, and military leaders often form a small, quite interconnected group that can shape the direction of a society. And he was writing about the United States, but think for a moment of the people who really govern in South Africa and the sectors they come from, and you can understand the resonance. Here's Ongamaram Timka.
I found myself, as I was grappling with the political economy of South Africa and wanting to understand at the core of our problems and potential solutions, what are the core issues? And I stumbled upon what I could only use, a term used by some people at Blanche called power constellations. And then started reading up on that and remembered that, in fact, somebody who contributed to thinking about, this concept of concentrated power in countries, the U.S. in particular, was Sir Wright Mills. And I've spent time reading about, what he says about the power elite and their interests and what they want. And it's been amazing watching developments of the Matlanga Commission and finding how it actually corresponds with what he talks about as the military in the U.S., but to us maybe a nexus between underworld elements and security. So a underworld security nexus of sorts, so a complex of sorts. So yeah, it's been fascinating and it's got interesting lessons for us today.
I mean, you talk about the Madlanga Commission. We see, I mean, warlords may be too strong a word, but you see people who are kind of, they have control over men with guns. Let me call them like that. And I mean, both kind of the criminal element and the police element. That's what they have in common. And we're kind of seeing a dispute like that playing out right in front of us right now.
Yeah, so interesting. It's interesting you are shy of using this word warlord. So Mills asks himself, what are the conditions that allow men of war to subject themselves to the power of civilian leaders? And what actually creates the conditions for them to step up in the fore and want to resolve issues? So as I listen to the rhetoric, the well-calculated strategy that Mkhwanazi used, which I was very supportive of, to me it actually matches, because the rhetoric is, we are ready, let's meet on the field. And it underscores an answer for Mills that says, well, the men of war, when they perceive that their civilian leaders can interfere with the work of state security in such a way that national security can be undermined, they can, in fact, step up in the fore and begin to stamp their power. And it's interesting that Mkhwanazi does what he does, saying that he was being responsive to a very violent counter-offensive, and I'm paraphrasing, by people they had seen had been killing people, political killing staff team and the organized underworld that works with them. But yeah, so it's an interesting one. I think for me, what is also scary is now the warlords proper, those outside the state, outside the security, attempting to claim space for them, whether it's in economic sectors like construction or in dangerous activities, as Marx would say, in moving drugs and trafficking, or protecting turf in different sectors. So it's an interesting thing in that sense.
One of the key tests for me in a society is whether the elites change. In other words, whether one group of people are able to concentrate power and replicate it. So Russia's a good example. If you're not born into that elite, you're probably not going to get into that elite. The same could be true in South Africa before 1994. Or whether your elite can change. Now, I would argue that for a long time, the United States was a good example of whether people could fall out of the elite and go into the elite. I think that that's become harder now. In our elite, can people fall out of it? Can people go into it?
Thank you. So we've had, for example, throughout history, people making reference to how the Broederbond brought together the corporate, the military, and the political. But that's been under a very clear transition. Some would like to argue that it actually remains pulling the strings, the white monopoly capital. But I began to panic last year as the order of 94 was crumbling, that in fact our grand narrative-esque approaches of looking at the high society of South Africa were too simplistic and not paying attention to the nuances and the changes that had taken place. How the political settlement of 94 started a process of transforming that elite, but also how we've seen rises of diverse groups like black-controlled groups of power elite that leverage political players, how they continue to contend with the so-called white monopoly capital. And an interesting one for me, Stephen, is the increasing power of union bosses in state, in crucial sectors of the state that are central to the economy, such as, for example, ports, rail, and others, and how that is an emerging power that needs us to explain today because it's got real consequences. So the point that Mills makes, if you allow me, he says the power elite is composed of men whose positions enable them to transcend the ordinary environments of ordinary men and women. They are in positions to make decisions having major consequences. Whether they do or do not make such decisions is less important than the fact that they do occupy such pivotal roles. And lastly, he says their failure to act or their failure to make decisions is itself an act that is often of greater consequence than the decisions that they do make. And look at how, for example, processes to transform certain sectors that are still controlled by the state now are more complicated, with union bosses very much being part of the power elite and countering, in some instances, the managerial elite, or having same power and same alignment in terms of thinking. So it's something I'm simply inviting us, especially within the political sciences and related disciplines and in the media, to begin to say, let us understand the new ways and the old ways in which power is wielded, and so that we can be able to go in this closer where the crux of the matter is in terms of how we transform society in South Africa.
An exploration there of the book The Power Elite by C. Wright Mills, published a long time ago about a country far, far away, but has such insights into how South Africa works. That conversation with Ongama and Timka.
Beyond every boardroom is a story waiting to be written. A story of a business and its potential, of a community that thrives, a hospital that serves, and energy that powers millions of dreams. It's a story that only gets better with a partner that has the expertise and solutions to make it a reality. At ABSA CIB, we are invested in your story, and we invite you to write it with us, because your story matters. ABSA, an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
Did you know that all residential complexes are legally required to register with the Community Scheme Ombud Service, or CSOS? Registration is easy and it's free. All registered schemes can access a quick and affordable alternative dispute resolution body and can also learn more about the rights and responsibilities of people living within a community scheme. We'd like to appeal to all unregistered community schemes to register with the CSOS today. Visit csos.org.za to find out more.
Let me get this right, Ron. You're a plumber by day and Pretoria's smoothest wedding DJ by night.
Yeah, it started out as a passion and now I've got bookings until December. And a smoke machine that needs its own seatbelt.
And you sold your car to buy a van through We Buy Cars.
Brew, it was music to my ears. Zero admin, no long queues. They pulled in, checked it out, and before I knew it, I had cash in the bank.
Now that's a banger. We Buy Cars. Geared for your passion, geared for you.
Hey besties, welcome to my kitchen tour, or should I say my new walk-in wardrobe. Over here we have the pantry, now home to my jeans and shirts, all color-coded. Oh, and the air fryer, literally the perfect place for my makeup brushes. And who would have thought, the oven is the place to store my handbags.
Who needs a kitchen? Simply spend 200 Rand or more and you could win Simply Asia for a year. T's and C's apply. Simply Asia, connecting the Thaiway.
702.
The best of the Money Show from this week.
A personal finance this week, Warren Ingram, the financial advisor and co-founder of Galileo Capital, talking about how to invest when markets are behaving as they are. There's been some speculation that US tech shares might be in the middle of some sort of AI-driven bubble. Gold has been going great guns. Warren sharing some strategies for navigating quite difficult markets.
If you look at the JSE as an example, we've got our market is performing very well, but when you break it down, it's a handful of mining shares and then the Naspers process, a combination, but pretty much everything else is doing okay. I mean, it's probably the JSE is probably having a fairly normal year. But when you look at the index tells you that it's having a phenomenal year. So there is a lot going on inside the JSE, and I think exactly the same picture is unfolding in America, where you've got those tech shares that are just driving everything through the roof. But there are a bunch of other companies that are doing okay, probably a lot more expensive as an average than South Africa, but still, two separate markets. I think I saw an analyst talk about the bifurcation of the market, and I guess you have to say that phrase very carefully on radio. But certainly, it looks to me like two different parts of the market performing differently throughout this year, and probably will carry on like that for a while.
Okay, some strategies to consider. Where do you sort of start? What do you need to work out? And I imagine first you need to know what you're actually going to do. You need some clarity in your own mind.
Yeah, I think I know you love the phrase, in the investment journey or the financial freedom journey. So just to really double down for you, I think when you're going in a direction, you need to know where you're going. And it sounds like such an obvious thing to say, but a lot of the time when you talk to people about investing, they'll invest opportunistically. They'll see an opportunity in maybe a falling price. I keep thinking about Steinhoff, getting lots of phone calls once the share price had halved, and people saying, "Gee, isn't this an opportunity?" And equally now, when you look at the tech shares or maybe the cryptos again, people going, "Well, hang on, these things have gone up a lot. Shouldn't I buy in so that I don't miss out?" And all of those are kind of questions that you should ask second. The first question is, what am I doing with my strategy? Where am I going with my money? How do I want to invest? And then have that plan, and then make decisions following that plan. And I think that it's fair to say with the world of investing, sometimes like a fairly bad plan that's well executed is way better than no plan at all, where you just sort of aimlessly try and take advantage of opportunities, because you end up not making any good decisions, and every now and then you're lucky. And what happens with that little bit of luck is it fools you into thinking that you've got this, that you've got some kind of a skill, and really all you've done is you've flipped the coin, you've landed on heads, and now you feel that you've got this. So I would say we don't know. You and I and no one else will know exactly how these market conditions unfold over the next decade, and we can't wait for a decade to look back and go, "Oh, gee, that's what we should have done." We have to make decisions now, and to me it starts with, just set a plan. Just set a course for yourself, which includes, well, how much money do I actually want in shares? How much do I want in bonds and property? How much am I going to have overseas and in South Africa? And once you've made that decision, and that should be based on your age and your tolerance for risk and all of those things. But once you've got that kind of a plan, then you can start to say, well, if I've got too much in shares, and I think the market's expensive, maybe I should sell down my shares a little to get back in line with my plan. So the starting point is have a plan, and even if it's not the best plan in the world, stick to the plan. That's the thing that will get you through whatever's coming, because none of us actually have a clue what's coming.
Yeah, well, isn't that the thing? Okay, so if we, put our hands over our eyes and sort of, cast and look at the horizon, you can kind of see a big wave, right? And it really does sort of feel like that. That it might crash. But isn't there, you can ride a wave in a situation like this? How would you do that?
You can, and in fact, fund managers will talk about momentum investing, and that's exactly what it is. You take advantage of building momentum where more and more money chases a particular investment theme. And for a while, it becomes almost a bit of a self-fulfilling prophecy where the demand and the speculation around a sector or a share builds its own power and its own force. And that drives the price higher and higher. And very often, those prices can go much higher than you think, and also that momentum can last for a lot longer than you think. And so, I would say, betting against the wave altogether, or betting against that momentum would not be the best idea you've got. You shouldn't just look at the tech sector in America and say, okay, well, all tech is expensive. I'm going to go and buy wood manufacturing furniture, wood furniture manufacturing, whatever it is, the thing most different to tech, because I think making an all or nothing bet against a very big wave, I think is very dangerous. So one, you can ride that wave for a time, and maybe one of the strategies that you follow is, if you've got a big allocation to a sector that's doing very well, don't be scared. Every time it does well, let's say it goes up by 50%, that you take half of that money off the table and you allocate it elsewhere. And if it goes up again, the remaining money, you keep taking profits, because at least in that way you are riding the wave, but equally doing so responsibly and allocating money elsewhere. For me, that would be one sensible way of riding a wave. But what I wouldn't do, and I'd be really strong on this, is don't take everything that you've got from all the other parts of your investment portfolio and allocate it to the wave. Because if we talk about big wave surfing, and you've ever watched a video of it, when you get it wrong, it's catastrophic. And certainly you don't want to do that.
So, I mean, there are things that you can do that are just wrong. And that's really where you put your money in the wrong place. So then you might be tempted to say, well, actually, I'm not going to do very much. I'm not a big believer in AI, or, it reminds me of the kind of .com bust. I've watched The Big Short too many times. I mean, what happens if you opt out?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting strategy. A lot of people don't have a tolerance for losing money. It causes them sleepless nights. They stress about it. They become obsessed with any time they see their investments go down. And so when you read what's going on in the world right now, and let's face it, I mean, if this was a British sitcom, it would be called Men Behaving Badly, and that's what's going on all around the world. Is we just see politicians behaving terribly everywhere, and certainly investors, chasing limited number of shares that, and delivering, yes, very good returns, but we all know the valuations are high and getting higher. And so for people who are prone to stress and worry, it's very tempting just to say, I'm going to cash out. I'm going to sell all my shares. This thing can only end badly, and I'm going to store my money in cash, maybe in some gold, although I'm not so sure that that's not in a bubble of its own. And I'm going to wait for everything to kind of